Hello guys, welcome to the extra content of Higurashi. Main story finished, pretty exciting ending, though still don't have a solid grasp on what happened. I'm definitely gonna look back at the Keiichi's perspective and see if they match up. Because if there's any differences, that would definitely help with Shion didn't do it and was dreaming it or something. But before we get into the curtain call, let's do the bad ending, which is over here, I believe. Only one. There's supposed to be a bad endathon, but there's only one option, unless there's more bad endings that stem from this one choice. So I'll probably just combine this with the curtain call, unless this is like 40 minutes long or something, but I doubt it. So just to recap where this was when Keiichi was strapped to the table, and the options look pretty similar. So I can't actually imagine what the bad ending was, besides like Shion realizing something, then committing suicide or something. I don't know. I don't think Keiichi or Mion's trying to turn the tables. Sorry. I don't know if it's because I just took my vitamins, but I feel weird. I feel kind of I'm kind of salivating. I know you probably didn't need to hear that, but it's kind of awkward. One sec. Okay. Very weird. I don't even know how to describe what that was. But hopefully it's fine. Hopefully. Before we start, I gotta say, I've been listening to the songs of the 3 openings, and the third one is such a banger. It was like stuck in my head at work like on Thursday, so I've been enjoying it a lot. I don't know, it's just like it just sounds great. Definitely tickles my earbuds. And I did after I just finished, I did rewatch the opening, just because I feel, well, besides the console arc spoilers, but let's be honest, by the time I get to the console arc, I probably would forget about them. Like when I'm not focusing on something like that, it probably doesn't matter. Because otherwise I just saw Himitsubushi and Meikashi spoilers, but actually there are 2 CGs that aren't in Meikashi. So that was interesting, though they were like fragmented, so I couldn't really tell. There's like a Keiichi one and something else, which looked like the Mion or Shion was like kneeling or something. I don't know. But the great song, would recommend. I think I've definitely solidified that as my favorite song out of the 3. Don't know which I like more from the other 2 yet. But yeah. Anyways, let's get to this bad ending. How bad could it be? Yay! I love Keiichi's streams. And then I turned around to face Keiichi. At that time I became aware of Keiichi's gaze. So this one she just turns around, but this time she feels Keiichi's gaze. Alright. Keiichi's growl resounded from the pits of his stomach. What a delightful sound. It was like he wanted to rip me apart. Oh, this is the same so far.
シオンを一番むごたらしく殺してやろうと思って閉じ込めておいたけど、まだ思いつかないって言ったやつ。あれが嘘。
I smiled menacingly as I laid out the huge nails and hammers specially made for the nail table.
あの子に自分のせいで死ぬ大勢の人の悲鳴をたっぷりと聞かせて、体の芯まで染み通らせてから殺すの。なかなかセンスいいでしょ。
This is different though, I think.
お前は
Maybe not.
誰だ
Because that's her low-key admitting that she's not Mion or whatever.
はミオンでしょ。園崎ミオン。恐怖で頭が変になっちゃった。
違うな。お前が園崎ミオンであるはずがない。
My hand stopped dead in its tracks. Kei-chan? Shit. I decided it would be too late once we reached Shion's cell. So the name guessing game is already over. Oh well, whatever. Bring it on. I'll listen to you. This is your last chance.
へえ。じゃあ、私がミオンじゃなかったら。
Well, I just realized I talked about the missing CGs, but maybe they're in this bad ending. I don't know. Just I haven't fully explored all the Meakashi content just yet. Come on, Kei-chan. Guess who I am. Try and save Mion, the girl who fell in love with you. And then I heard it. I most definitely heard it. Keiichi's mouth trembled as he spoke the words, yet his eyes shone with a strong conviction. And he spoke the truth.
シオンだな。
Oh, here we go. Interesting. Wow. You're right. You actually won. You're amazing, Kei-chan. A strange feeling fills my chest as I shiver. I had convinced myself there's no way he could guess. But he did, and I couldn't help feeling a bit surprised. This Keiichi had yet again pierced through my disguise.
お前はミオンじゃない。さっきまで一緒だったミオンを返せ。
Who are you?
え
You aren't Mion, right?
えだから私、ミオン。
No, that's not it. That wasn't what I meant. You aren't Mion. What is this? I don't remember this.
どうして私がお姉じゃないって思うんですか？
I don't know. Just a feeling. In my mind, memories of the time Keiichi recognized me at the toy store had been revived. I don't remember that. Didn't he, like, think... Who is he walking with? Shion or Mion? He was walking with somebody going to the toy store, and that's when it was revealed. He didn't, like, stop and do that. Have to recollect my thoughts. Let's just wait. Yes, even back then, Keiichi could tell that I wasn't my sister Shion. I had feigned composure and offered to come back with a straight face, but on the inside I was shook. We were both capable of becoming Mion or Shion, but because I was the real Mion and was only Shion legally on paper, reversing the roles was even more easier for me. Our tones of speech, quirks, and even our auras, we had both mastered each habit, others' habits so perfectly, even our own parents were unable to tell us apart. In fact, wasn't that exceptionally sharp Rena not able to figure out I wasn't her best friend Mion after all, despite being so close? So why? Has this Keiichi actually seen through my disguise twice?
どうして私がお姉じゃないって思うんですか？
My ears perked up, eager to hear the answer. Keiichi's reply was a soft murmur, like an insect's whisper as he gasped for breath in pain. His voice was so quiet, but it was nearly inaudible, but I could almost recognize the words on his lips. Yes, just a feeling, he says.
へえ。
Yet again, it was just a feeling. Didn't he say the exact same thing to me that time at the toy store? How nice, how nice. What a splendid answer. You think why my sister of all people fell in love with him? However, no, rather it was exactly because of this. Along with my raving madness, the blood that was simmering in my veins until now just rapidly began to turn chill and coagulate. If I were to describe it, it felt like stagnant, muddy water running through a gutter. Even now, it was all so hilarious I could fall over laughing, but it didn't smile. On the contrary, my face was vacant and austere, like a no mask of frigid ice. And then, the darkness seeped into my innermost depths of my mind, and I was already parting with my self-restraint as a human being. I reached out and touched Keiichi's hair, matted with sweat and caked with blood. Keiichi whips his hand away at once in disgust, as if he was staving off a housefly, then glares at me defiantly.
触るなこの鬼め返せミオンを返せよ俺の最高の友人だったミオンを返せ
Wait a second. Is this like Keiichi whispering, or is this him saying it's Shion? Because it sounds like, because he's doing the same thing and saying that, like right now it sounds like he's saying that a demon took over Mion. But, so it's kind of weird. Having lost liberty over his whole body, he continued to howl and cry as if he were spewing blood. I was supposed to have sold my soul to the devil and become a demon, but faced with such a bitter rejection, I felt the crumbled remnants of my emotions stir within me. Munch, crunch, munch, crunch, munch, crunch. My throat begins to itch, the crooks of my elbows and wrists, and every other joint in my body begins to tingle and prickle, and I feel irrationally restless. The more restlessness and irritation piled up, the more this squalling, whimpering person beside me felt bothersome, revolting. So awful I could slaughter him right away. To be frank, until just now, I had no intention of killing Keiichi. I was truly ready to spare at least his life if he just did the right answer. That was the rule I had decided upon. Okay, I'll admit it, just like Shion, I had also fallen in love with Keiichi. He was incredibly silly and good-natured, unbelievably warm-hearted and gentle. Talking to him made me feel contented. Besides, I even sympathized with him. Unlike the lot I dealt with so far, Keiichi was indeed just a victim, caught up in my selfish revenge drama. Now that my revenge against the Sonozaki family was almost complete, I didn't mind saving him. That may sound too convenient, but perhaps the human side of me that was fond of Keiichi wanted to save him, in order to seek his forgiveness for my actions. But I've changed my mind. Having witnessed Keiichi guess the right answer before my eyes, my heart was suffering with a stinging, gaping, overpowering darkness, as if it were freezing over. Why? Why was Shion alone able to meet such a wonderful person? Satoshi-kun could only make a vague distinction between me and Shion. Satoshi-kun abandoned me and ran away. However, this Keiichi trusts Shion. He is defending Shion, whom he values as his best friend, by seeing through my lies. And as a result, he gave up on me. Detestable, maddening, despicable, enviable, so much that I wanted to kill them. That's right, the moment he defended Shion, he became one of them. He is equally guilty. You low-life scum, I despise you, 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 you fucking piece of shit. Munch, crunch, munch, crunch, munch, crunch. Ah, what a nuisance. Shion's screams coming from the corner of the chamber were enjoyable before, but now they felt unbearably noisy and pissed me off. How about I just get rid of Shion first? I wanted to kill her after she had the most exquisite taste of anguish and terror, but now it scared me. No YouTube notifications. but now I could barely suppress the indiscriminate urge to slaughter welling up within me. Keiichi was relentlessly yelling his protests towards me. His throat closed up eventually, and he gasped for breath, hoarsely continuing to demand Mian's return.
ケイちゃん、メイドの土産なんて気の利いたものじゃないけれど、どうしても知りたがっているようだから一つだけ教えてあげるよ。私の中に鬼が宿ったのはずいぶん前。その鬼は私を蝕み強行に駆り立てようとした。だけれど私はそれを理性で押さえつけた。鬼はそれで収まり、私はその鬼はどこかへ行ってしまったんだと思い込んでいた。でも本当は違った。私の中から出て行ったんじゃなく、私の中で眠っていただけだったの。
Yes. When I learned about Satoshi-kun's disappearance, my alien heart had crammed itself with rage to compensate for the despair. But that was the limit of my insanity. I would have never snapped. Time had healed me, and my memories of Satoshi-kun were neatly wrapped up and pushed back into the back of my mind.
その鬼はある小さなことをきっかけにまた目覚めてしまった。それは何に原因があったと思う？
Sorry, did you hear the end of the cough? I muted myself because I was coughing, but it was really the smallest of the smallest things.
鬼の私が教えるのも変だけれど、あんたが全てをおかしくしてしまった元凶。
A tear rolled down my cheek. That's right. Back then, if you hadn't given that doll to Mion, none of this... If you hadn't given that... Back then, if you hadn't given that doll to Mion, none of this would have happened.
ケイちゃんには理解できないだろうね。
I think I understand now.
理解できなくて当然。だけどね、そこからドミノ倒しみたいにパタパタパタといろんなものが倒れ始めて、初めの小さな一つを倒したあなたに自覚がないのは当然だろうけど、
Very
あなたが元
sneaky.
凶なの。
Back then, if Keiichi hadn't shown any affection, Shion wouldn't have been overjoyed. She wouldn't have been overjoyed and cheerfully boasted about him to me. As I was listening to her, I was reminded of Satoshi-kun. I became jealous of her for having someone she loved so close to her. It was a very small jealousy, but it had awoken the demon who was sleeping deep inside of me. After that, I just let the demon take over. The demon fed upon the copious amounts of sadness I held for Satoshi-kun and returned it, committed heinous, and in return, it committed heinous acts that Satoshi-kun would have never been happy with, all in the name of avenging him. And now the horrific events that had followed were inviting me to the realm of the demons that had no return.
そんな嘘だろ。
自覚がないのは当然。でも紛れもなく元凶なのはケイちゃん。
Back then, if you hadn't chosen to give the doll to Mion, we could have arrived at a different future. No, that wasn't right. Wouldn't pinpointing Keiichi's small action as the beginning be the height of transferring blame? I was implying such a silly thing had awoken the demon inside me. Even without Keiichi's act, it would have awoken anyway. At the end of the day, it was my fault. I didn't fight the demon. I allowed it to reside in my soul, and I readily offered it in my heart. Offered it my heart. Keiichi didn't hide his tears. They were pouring down his cheeks. Maybe he was crying in my place, as I was not free to do so, having chosen to become a tearless demon. That is why I must go on, as the demon. There is no room for human emotions or hesitation anymore. And then, Munch, crunch, munch, crunch, munch, crunch, snap. Shion's wails, rasping like silk tearing apart, along with my streams of ecstasy. The last thing I heard were those everlasting reverberations. Interesting. I understand. Kind of. Kind of understand. So this was like a different reality almost. Like, it's kind of funny. Oh. Well, let's just keep going. June 1983. A case of serial disappearances occurred in Hinamizawa Village, Shishibone City, XX Prefecture. The suspect is Shion Sonozaki, 17 years old. Allegedly, she abducted 5 Hinamizawan residents: Oryu Sonozaki, Shion Sonozaki, Kichiro Kimiyoshi, Rita Furude, and Satoko Hojo, and imprisoned them from June 19th through the 21st. Preliminary investigation into the incident was delayed at the time due to insufficient evidence, but by chance the case was solved rather abruptly. On the morning of the 22nd, a patrol vehicle stationed outside the Sonozaki mansion heard screams from within, and the personnel infiltrated the premises as an emergency measure. The suspect's missing elder sister, Mion Sonozaki, and 2 of her classmates, Keiichi Maibara and Rena Ryudu, were taken into custody. However, Keiichi Maibara, who had previously been lured into the crime scene, had sustained stab wounds perpetrated by the suspect. He was immediately transferred to an emergency unit, but they were diagnosed as a minor injury. Having been the one with the utmost opportunity to engage in conversation with the suspects until the very end, he will be subject to interrogation once he has recovered from the shock. Furthermore, the apprehended suspect was found collapsed at a place approximately 2 meters away from where Keiichi Maibara was restrained, and sustained scratch wounds on her throat. She was also transferred to an emergency facility, but was pronounced dead at 13:48 on the 22nd. Official autopsy determines that the immediate cause of death was hemorrhagic shock due to excessive blood loss. Hair, pieces of skin, blood of the 4 missing people were recovered from the hidden chamber that was discovered in the outbuilding basement of the Sonozaki family, where they were supposedly killed. It was concluded that the victims were assaulted in that hidden chamber. The victims' bodies were discovered at the bottom of an old well, as per the testimony of the victim, Mion Sonozaki. In addition, investigations continued into any possible connection of the series of mysterious deaths in recent years, but no evidence of Shion Sonozaki's direct or indirect involvement have been found. There are still many obscurities to the motive behind the incident, and due to an extreme non-cooperation from the Sonozaki family and residents of Hinamizawa, a large amount of time will be required to clarify matters on this front. The local police who are familiar with this region... Sorry, this is like the same. Obviously it was different, but I'll just skip the same parts because it might be different for you because it's been a couple of days, but I literally just read this like 2 hours ago. We expected to gain valuable hints from the missing person and the suspect's sister, Mion Sonozaki, who was under confinement for the longest time period. But it was observed... Who was under confinement for the longest time period. That sounds weird. But it was observed that she had sustained severe mental trauma from the incident, and her injury had been postponed in favor of her psychological and physical recovery. According to her primary care physician, although her condition is fairly serious, there's a strong prospect of recovery, and she is at present undergoing rehabilitation with support from her close friends. Several weeks have passed since then. After that incident, I was rescued by Oishi-san and his team, whom Rena had summoned. I had no other after effects aside from my consciousness that had been wiped white. If I were to have any at all, it would have to be the deep scars that had been left inside my heart. As I was being examined at the hospital, I was subjected to various queries from Oishi-san. I tried to answer him with whatever little I knew, but I had no idea if I met his expectations, and neither did I bear any responsibility to do so. From what I heard, Shion had already lost too much blood by the time the police had arrived, and she had stopped breathing. They urgently called for an ambulance and took her to the clinic, but there was barely any time for first aid, and she took her last breath. The silver lining was that Mion, who had been captive in herself, was safe and taken into custody by the police. Up until the moment I lost consciousness, I was afraid that Shion may fly into a rage and murder Mion, but I was just glad we had managed to avoid the worst case scenario. Only, when Mion was rescued, she was emaciated and had sustained severe psychological trauma. Apparently, at the time of her rescue, she had been completely unable to respond to the police's questions. Right now, Mion is admitted at a large hospital in the vicinity and undergoing treatment for her psychological and physical injuries. In the beginning, when Rena and I went to visit, her eyes were downcast in desolation, and she looked completely worn out. It was a horrible state to be in. But despite it all, as of late, she's on her way to recovery, finally well enough to show us a few smiles. Of course, we have to be careful to not bring up Satoko or Rita-chan, and especially Shion. The police later conducted an on-site investigation at the Sonozaki House's underground storehouse, several days after the incident took place. Particularly, the well inside which Satoko and Rita-chan's body were disposed of by Shion was carefully surveyed by the prefectural forensic investigators, and true to Shion's testimony, the girls were discovered. Apparently, sediment had accumulated at the bottom of the well, and hence the discovery had taken several days. Along with Satoko and the other victims, skeletal remains that were several years, even several decades old, were found, but it's not like I would know much about that. I was once summoned back to the place to assist with the crime scene investigation, but I didn't really help them find anything important. The Sonozaki family in Otonomiya, in other words, Mion and Shion's parents, came home every day several times along with many of their followers to formally apologize. And no matter how much my parents refused, they kept piling on banknotes worth millions of yen as compensation. And once that money had piled up and reached a certain amount, on the same day there came an envelope with a letter instead. I had no idea what was written in that letter. But my parents had discussed amongst themselves for 2 nights straight without consulting me, and we decided we would move away from Hinamizawa.
そっか。引っ越しちゃうんだね。いつ？
来月の終わり。ひなみ沢には結局半年も居つかなかったことになるな。
寂しくなるね。きっとみーちゃんも悲しむよ。
悪い。ミオンにも正直話すべきか迷ってる。
Once Rena had heard me say that, she strongly insisted I had to tell her, no matter what.
確かに今みーちゃんにそれを告げるのは酷なのかもしれない。でも圭一くんが黙っていなくなっちゃう方がきっとみーちゃんは辛いと思う。だから一緒に話しに行こうね。
ああ、そうだな。
そっか。ケイちゃん、ひなみ沢からいなくなっちゃうんだ。
Even though she had heard it from me, Mian whispered those words sadly, but she didn't seem that surprised. She had mentally prepared herself for this outcome somewhere inside her heart.
すまん。けど俺、いつかひなみ沢に戻ってくるつもりだ。約束する。
いいよ、無理しなくても。ここに来てもきっとケイちゃんにいいことなんて何もないんだから。
みーちゃん。
Both Rena and I wanted to say it wasn't so, but after such a tragic incident, what verbal consolation could we offer that would help? To Mian, who had suffered a much greater pain than we ever had. And so we just stood there, unable to say anything, just wallowing in silence.
私も東京に行こうかな。
え？
来週退院できるらしいんだけど、ここにいてもいいことあんまりないし、東京でなくてもどこか遠く、私のこともひなみ沢のことも知らない土地に行きたい。やり直せるなんて都合のいいことは考えてないけど、全部投げ出したいよ。
ミオン。
Mian had been forced to carry the name of the Nuts head of the Sonozaki family and the representative of the three great families, all due to a small misunderstanding. Despite feeling uncertain and wary about her unplanned responsibility, she had nevertheless been earnest and given her all to fulfill her duties. But to think of it, all that had been concluded in such a manner. It was such a tremendous loss that it's almost a surprise she hadn't completely lost her mind. Who can really blame Mian anymore for making such a faint-hearted remark? And so I wanted to devote even a little bit of my remaining time here for her.
そうだな、ミオン。一緒にどこか行くか。
Let's go, Keiichi.
え？どこへ？
決まってるだろ。旅行だよ。俺がここにいられる期間はもうあまりないけど、だったらせめて少しでもいい思い出を取り返しておかないとな。東京はちょっと遠いけど、大きな町とかに足を伸ばしてうまい飯とか買い物とかさ。どうだ？
どうって言われても。
それとってもいいと思うな。行っておいでよ、みーちゃんね。
けどレナ一緒に来てくれないの？
After hearing that, even I grew puzzled. Hadn't I suggested all three of us hang out together?
だってレナは馬になんて蹴られたくないもん。だから二人っきりでどうぞ。あ、お土産買ってきてくれると嬉しいな。
Boom. Mihan blushes vigorously. I was slow to react because I didn't understand what Rena was getting at, but seeing Mian's face imbued with a color after a long time, my heartbeat grew faster for a moment. No, it wasn't what I implied when I suggested the idea, but depending on the point of view, wouldn't this be an invitation to a date?
いかん。ちょっと調子に乗りすぎたかも。
Indeed, after seeing it that way, I was overcome with embarrassment, but there's no way I could back out after coming this far. Gah, this was all for Mian's sake. Pull yourself together, Keiichi Maibara.
どうだミオン。あ、もちろん医者と親御さんにはちゃんと了解を取るつもりだぜ。あんまり無理はさせないつもりだから考えておいてくれよ。
わかった。
You know what? This might be thumbnail material. Look at that. Beautiful.
考えておくね。
はう、みーちゃんが久々に可愛いよ。嬉しいな嬉しいな。はうはうはう。
After that, we spent the day talking about harmless stuff that happened at school or in the neighborhood until it was evening. I felt like Mion had regained some of her spirit and acted a bit like she used to, so I was happy. After a few days, Mion had contacted me to say she was okay with my plan. And after spending a few more days to convince my folks and Mion's parents, we set off on a day trip to a metropolis that had one of those bullet train stations.
しばらく見ないうちにここってすごく大きくなったんだね。
As soon as she stepped out of the station, Mion's eyes set on a scenery sprawling with people and cars. She shared her feelings in excitement as she looked on admiringly. From what I heard, unless it's on very important business, Mion rarely gets to leave the village, let alone come out to a big city like this. Because of that, everything she saw looked fresh and fascinating to her, and she pranced around merrily, almost like a child.
ねえねえ、ケイちゃん。これからどこに行くの？
そうだな。ミオンの好みから考えて、あそこはどうだ？
The place I was pointing to, one I had checked out in advance, was a massive, beautifully decorated game arcade that towered over a corner of the station shopping square.
なかなか盛大に遊び回ったな。
面白かった。あんなにゲームで遊んだの、本当に久しぶりだよ。
As I sat down on the bench, Mion was gleefully draining her can of juice with a huge smile. That expression was unlike the gloomy one Mion had worn at the hospital. Next to me was the Mion I knew well. Earlier, we had a blast, vowing to conquer all the game consoles in the vicinity and made quite the ruckus without caring about the people watching. Mion was enjoying herself playing on consoles she wasn't used to, and had gone on a rampage, laughing out loud, getting worked up, and challenging me to matches. Although I couldn't help thinking about what ifs as I was playing with her, about how much fun it would have been if only it weren't just us two, but also Rena, Satoto, and Rita-chan as well. I'm sure Mion must have been thinking the same thing, which was also why I outdid myself, making so much noise, trying to battle the loneliness, when I had realized.
なあ、ミオン。
何、ケイちゃん。
With faint drops of sweat coating her forehead, Mion turned to face me with a broad smile. Mion's cheerfulness was most likely just her being considerate towards me for having brought her here. If that was so, then I needed to do the same for her.
お前、全部初めてって言ってたけど、それ本当か？初プレイで2台もハイスコアに名前入れるなんて、とんでもない実力だぜ。
ちっちっち。4台の間違いだよ、ケイちゃん。こういうのはセンスと勘、そして動体視力がものを言うのさ。普段の鍛錬を怠らなかった成果だよ。むしろケイちゃんはアドバンテージをひっくり返されたことを恥と思うべきだね。
おいおい、ちょっと待てよ。エアホッケーの時とか、あれ何？なんて後ろを指さして顔を向けた瞬間打ち込んできたのは反則だろ？まったく容赦のないやつだぜ。
勝てば官軍、負ければ賊軍だよ。
For the time being, it's alright if her well-being is a front. All I hope for is that someday this becomes real and she recovers her old cheerful self.
いやいや、それにしてもゲーセンも雰囲気が変わったよな。少し前なら タバコ臭くて暗いイメージだったけど、家族連れで遊びに来る人も結構いたから、ちょっと驚いたぜ。
What?
そうだね。やっぱたまにはこういうのも楽しいよね。
Just in general. I see. I was confused.
あ、今何時ぐらい
？5時くらいかな。
ああ、じゃあ夕食まであと少しだね。どこかで食べて帰る？
そうだな。ファーストフードでハンバーガーなんてどうだ？
おお、いいね。あ、その前にちょっと失礼。
Mian said that and stood up from the bench. I found it odd for a minute, but then I understood her intention and...
店にもトイレはあるぞ。
Instead of a reply, I had empty cans thrown at me. Mian stuck her tongue out and left and... Mian had stuck her tongue out at me and left in a hurry, and after I watched her retreating figure, I plopped back down on the bench and looked up at the sky. The sky was pure blue and crystal clear. It felt amazing. Everything seemed to be glowing, bathed in the brilliant summer sun. It was a good thing we came here. Also, Mian seemed to show signs of recovery.
そうだな。なんなら今度はいっそ東京にでも誘ってみるか。
Imagine if Mian just stabs Keiichi now. That'd be funny. It would be cheaper if she stayed at our new place there, but I feel like our parents would be concerned for a while. We still needed some more time to go back to how it was.
そうなると泊まる場所も探しておかないとな。あとは。
Why, hello there.
ああ、こんにちは。
Stabbed? Wait, I was memeing. Don't tell Keiichi.
いやー、ごめんケイちゃん。トイレ人いっぱいでさ。あ、結構待たせちゃったみたいだから飲み物買ってきた。どっちがいい？あれ、ケイちゃん寝ちゃったの？もうしょうがないな。
Is he dead? Did someone come and kill him?
女の子とのデート中に居眠りなんてエチケット違反だよ。
Is he either dead or is he like silent because he thinks he notices this is Shion, not Mion?
ケイちゃん？
I think he's just dead.
もういつまで寝てるんだよ。ほら起きて。
Or did he have like a heart attack?
ケイちゃんえ、は
Oh, well, there's blood, so probably not. Maybe he ripped out his own throat. That was not how I expected that to go at all. Also, that was long enough to make its own episode, so that's cool. Okay, first off, date with Mion and Keiichi, that's like amazing. I didn't really comment on that, but yeah, that was super fun and cute. I was wondering where that was going, but for my understanding, obviously it seemed like a different version where Keiichi said it was Shion, not the demon, and because of that, because we got that whole speech from in the normal Mayatashi, which like Keiichi chose to save the Mion and Shion in his heart, while in this one he only chose to save the Mion in his heart. Ended up not working out for Shion, and she still went crazy. But it's like a whole different thing, right? Because it referenced back when Keiichi discovered or identify like Shion pretending to be Mion instead of finding it out when both of them accidentally met. So it's like a whole different like it's not even Mayatashi, it's a whole different storyline. Who knows how much there was. There's also the fact that that Keiichi knew about the whole successor switch up. I don't know, maybe someone told him about that afterwards, but he definitely didn't know it in Wada Nagashi at the end even, so that was weird. What happened afterwards, I don't know. I assume he like maybe ripped out his throat. Someone snuck up on him. I thought like Shion was gonna pop out, but kind of like the mimicking the scene in Watchanagashi when one of the sisters popped out from the hospital bed, but this time it was like on the park bench. I was expecting Keiichi to die, just because even though this is like a different story or whatever, people are just dying the same. Like even though, well, I guess Mion doesn't die, so it's different. Never mind. But that was fun. That was interesting. Again, I thought my prediction was literally like something was gonna cause her to change her mind, and she would just like commit suicide in the cell. But obviously, that was way different. I don't know what it could be. I wish I could scroll back. It was like, hello there. I don't know like anybody nobody like kind of comes out like right in my mind, someone who's greets like that. Like maybe Rena. I don't know. Rena's always kind of the target. Again, it's kind of weird for Rena to be so accepting of people leaving Hinamizawa when she was so freaky about it in the past. So that automatically makes me suspect her a bit. But yeah, fun stuff. I definitely have to look back through this for any more hints. I'm sure this offers some stuff, but I can't really think of anything. Yeah. But that's fun. I guess we're gonna leave this as its own. Usually the curtain calls take like around an hour to do, so no point in combining them. Hopefully you enjoyed. Very confusing but fun. Again, the Keiichi Neon date. What more could you ask for? I mean, Keiichi dies at the end, but at least it was fun while it lasted, right? But yeah, it's a Saturday. I'm probably gonna record the curtain call in a couple hours once my voice and whatever rests. So yeah, I'll see you. This actually kind of lines it up better. You know, we have this uploaded Wednesday. Oh God, what did I do? No, I was playing with my desktop. Now it's all loady, but that's all right. Then Friday you'll have the curtain call. Saturday you'll have the review, and then we'll see. Then I'll have time for the theory video, so it shouldn't take too long. But yeah, thanks for watching as always. Yeah, rip Keiichi. I'm guessing Keiichi just never survives, even. And it does kind of confirm that Hasani got a heart attack. Made sense. But yeah, next time we'll see what sort of fun memes we'll have in the curtain call, because that's usually what happens during those nowadays. It used to be a helpful tool for hints. The last 2 ones have been like pretty memey though. Not that I hate the memes. Give me memes. Happy Satoko. Happy everyone. Feels good. But yeah, thanks for watching as always, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Hello, welcome back to Higurashi. Final in client part for the Meakashi, the curtain call. Sorry if I sounded a little weird last episode. I don't know if I did sound a little weird. I just felt a little weird. But it was very fun. If that's a way to describe it. Do I have any idea? I mean, I had an idea of what was going on as like how the world was, but like who did Keiichi see? I was trying to like list names, but then I realized that's just literally the suspects I've always said. Like Oishi, Tatano, and Rena. So like, is there a point? I don't know. But we're gonna move on to the curtain call. It's usually pretty memey. It should be fun. Let's see what our cast thinks about it. Yeah, sure. Let's get right into it. Staff room. This is different. Okay. Do you think that murder can be justified depending on the motive? It's a commonly debated topic. I don't really have a clear answer because I haven't thought about it a lot, but... Hey, this is Ryukishi07. Oh, maybe this isn't a meme. This is actually seems kind of cool. Okay, hello, author. I'm sorry I never say your name, Ryutishi. I always just say author, because honestly I just forget. I just forget what his name is. I'll try to remember Ryutishi. Thank you for playing Higurashi when they try Tai, Chapter 5, Meakashi. Although I depict many deaths in my work, I often ask myself a question. The question is there such a thing as justifiable murder? In our world, murder is prosecuted, and the degree of punishment varies depending on the motives and circumstances. Having different degrees of punishment means that we are putting value on a dead person's life. Some scenes justify murder in Higurashi. By degrading the life of the victims in those scenes, the players can sympathize with the character more easily. I.e., when they're being tortured, you feel more bad about them, but in Higurashi, when Keiichi is bashing the uncle's head in, you probably don't feel bad about him at all. The degree of sympathy would be different from person to person, and obviously some people care about more than others. Like, I honestly didn't care too much about Oryu or Kimiyoshi, but some people would probably be like, oh, that's kind of brutal. I mean, it was brutal, but the people who could sympathize probably felt catharsis, and the people who disagreed with the character might have felt uncomfortable. That's indicated by how opinions were polarized regarding Keiichi's actions in Higurashi. In Meakashi, there are also a number of murders. But this time, the main character Shion tries to earn sympathy for each one of them. How did you feel? From Shion murdering people? I honestly didn't feel too sympathetic towards Shion. I understand that she's kind of went through the traumatic loss of Satoshi and how hard that hit her, but I don't necessarily feel like most of those. I didn't really feel bad for her, if that made sense. Until, like, I mean, I did. I don't know. It's hard to explain. Like, I didn't think it was justifiable for her to kill people. Honestly, if you want to give her one kill, I would say Oryu. Just as how she was treated all her life. But, I felt bad for her, but I didn't think killing everyone else, even Kimiyoshi, was, justifiable. In my opinion. I did... Yeah, I want to reiterate, I did feel bad for her, especially by the end. By the end, I was really feeling down, especially with the I wish I was never born stuff. That is incredibly rough on my heart. It hit me hard. How much were you able to sympathize with her? I don't know how you measure sympathy, like medium. I'm sure some people sympathize more. I'm sure there's not really much people that didn't sympathize with her at all. I was sort of the medium bunch. I'm sure some people would definitely sympathize with her more. Probably at least fine with her killing Kimiyoshi. Obviously, killing Rika isn't that bad because Rika tried to kill her. But I think Satoko's probably the polarizing part. Maybe, I don't know. Do people actually think it was... I don't know. Do people actually think it was fine? Felt bad for Shion killing Satoko? I didn't. But, obviously, huge Satoko bias. If you couldn't sympathize with her at all, then please berate her as a crazy murderer. I guess it's also, I didn't relate too much on her problem with Satoshi because I've never been wildly in love. So obviously if you can connect more with her, then it seems better. I know someone also commented that they kind of understand, I forgot when, it was a while back, kind of understand Shion's action because she's a hormonal teenage girl from an all-female school, and before that she probably had some pretty strict living. I mean, I guess it was still strict living in the school. Man, this is deeper. I thought I was just gonna have some fun memes. What is this? If you sympathize with her at all, then please have mercy on her. I mean, you can be in between. You can call her kind of crazy, but still feel bad for her. You don't have to have, you can sympathize but not feel like she needs mercy, if that makes sense. If you sympathize her almost entirely, then please have... Oh, okay. I thought I just reread it. If you completely sympathize with her, then please let us berate both of you as crazy murderers. LOL, yeah. Naturally, you can't 100% sympathize with her. What about me? Well, that's a secret. I'd like to reverse my question this time. I feel like there's definitely a degree of sympathizing with the author, or it wouldn't have been written like that. You did a very good job at pulling at heartstrings. I'd like to reverse my question this time. What kind of murderer could you sympathize with if you were to be killed? Well, I would never want to be killed, so it's kind of a stalemate. Obviously, the answer is like if you were in Oryu's position, if you like, I don't know if it was bullying, but you know, restricting someone's life because you don't feel like they. I don't know. I guess we don't really know Oryu's true feelings on Shion. I kind of got the feeling that she doesn't actually hate Shion as much as Shion thinks she does. Hard questions. A murderer who doesn't care about people's lives. Well, no, that wouldn't. That wouldn't feel great. That'd be quite a regrettable death. It's extremely sad to be killed in denial of all your values. A murderer who begs for forgiveness in tears? That'd be quite regrettable too. They shouldn't kill you at all if they're begging for forgiveness. Haha. Yeah. True. I like that line. It's like you kind of feel sad for them because obviously they don't want to do it, but why are they killing you if they know it's wrong anyways? It's the high moral ground. Obviously it's super situational and like literally every aspect of everything. Every crime has... It's hard. It's a hard question. Hard-hitting ones. So what kind of murder could you sympathize with? Don't ask me. I want to say like... it's hard definitely if... As a victim, I want to say sympathize with no murderers. As a bystander, though, the view kind of changes, which is, I guess, is kind of contradictory. In the end, sympathy might just be a method for making the story more interesting. That's also good, too. I think that's actually a very, very good point. If you can sympathize, it's fun. Not only fun, it's interesting. It can be sad. It's a lot. If you can't sympathize, they're just crazy. It's also just not interesting, I think. Actually, maybe it can be. I don't know. I can't... No story that you have like an unsympathetic murder really comes to mind at all. But yeah, wow, this is true. I think it's also just good writing. We cannot put value on human life. It's a sin to even try doing so. A murderer is a murderer. Nothing more than that. I just hope everyone can live happily together. How does that sound? Would you agree to that? Yeah, sure. Baseline, I agree. Obviously, situations are... It's like if you're taking revenge for something. It's just so hard to say, but it should be like that, right? Murder shouldn't be tolerated at all. If you wouldn't. He. Thank you very much for playing Higurashi When They Try Kai, Chapter 5, Meakashi. I could only bring out this 5th episode thanks to all your support. Higurashi will only get more intense as it approaches the finale. Nothing would make me happier if you continued reading the chapters to come. The next chapter will be titled Sumi Horoboshi. Sumi Horoboshi. Okay, that's actually not too hard. Meakashi took me like forever to pronounce. This looks hard, but Sumi Horoboshi, if I am saying it right, is actually like fairly easy to pronounce. Really, I'm rather fortunate if you've enjoyed yourself even a little. Thank you again for playing. I hope this has brought you a little color to your life. 7th expansion, Ryutishi 07. Well, this went out differently. I was expecting a curtain call. Instead this was like super short. Unless this is going into the curtain call now. It might. It'd be weird if they cut that. Oh, they did. Interesting. So no memes, but that was very insightful. And you're welcome, Ryutishi. Obviously, I assumed. Oh, what did I do? I'm doing my support by buying it. Eventually, I should probably buy Umineko because as a teenager, I'm like 90% sure I pirated that. But like, again, it's a shame that I've like always avoided saying his name. But I mean, Umineko's like literally like my favorite story. Well, it's up there. I think I think I can just say it's my favorite story. So as I explore Ryutishi's works, I'm sure it would be very easy to call him like one of my favorite authors, if not the most, like my favorite author. I think I'll like keep it off a bit until I at least finish Higurashi. But yeah, I mean, even at this point, I can definitely say he's one of my favorites. So I'm glad to support him, and I hope everyone else did too. Seems very, very insightful conversation. I wasn't ready for that. It's like when your parents call you in and it's like, oh yeah, them. It's like they're gonna reward me for something, but then they like scold you, or like it turns into like a serious conversation, and you're like, oh, I wasn't ready for that. But no, interesting topics. I think my answers were fine. Obviously, it's something you can really get into a discussion about, like the value of life, like how can you like fairly trial people for murder, like giving different degrees of time, like is there really a difference between murders, etc., etc. And there's definitely not a real like clear cut answer, but I guess I am connecting this to the bad ending, because I expected this to be much longer, but no, it's fine. So that's cool. I guess Saturday is going to be free day. Maybe I'll stick in an Aoani. But thanks for watching. That was it. I liked it. I kind of miss it. Miss the thing, but that was fun. I wouldn't mind if they gave a little message every time. So just the rundown of how things will be. Next week, probably no episodes, or at the very least at the end of the week on like a Friday or Saturday, I might post a theory video. You'll probably just see Aoani, which is the new series. Actually, I don't know if it will be announced. Actually, I announced it on Thursday, so I guess you wouldn't. But that's just replacing Fanbo. Obviously, we're gonna head over to Sumi I already forgot its name. I'll just call it Sumi for I'm messing up, dude. Sorry for jump scares. Gotta keep you on your feet for a little. You're on a Higurashi video. Prepare to be scared. If you're wondering what I did, I like hit my pop filter. Is that what it's called on the microphone? And it like, I thought it was gonna fall off or something. Very scary. But yeah, I know a lot of people are excited for the next arc. It's been hyped up a lot. I'm sure there's gonna be some major development. Rihanna development. Good stuff. Don't worry, it'll come soon. Like, maximum 2 weeks from now. Minimum, like 2 full weeks, so it would be on like the 3rd week. Minimum would be the week in 2 weeks. I'm confusing myself. What am I saying? We're having a week break, and on the 2nd week it might come back, or the 3rd week. No longer than that. So yeah, hope to see you soon, guys, in our next one. Glad to be reading. Glad to be playing as Shion. I'm wondering who the next protagonist is. Since Rena's being hyped up, I don't know if she's gonna be the protagonist. Are we gonna get some Keiichi action? Or is it gonna be a curveball and somebody completely different? Man, I set up this like hot tea because I was preparing for like an hour-long video, but that's alright. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Don't forget to check out the review Friday and the theory video if you're interested in that, just to get my extra thoughts, theories, and just feelings about this arc in general. So yeah, see you guys soon. Bye.